There are moments in life that divide everything into a before and an after. For me, that moment arrived in the form of a crumpled, folded note handed over by the trembling hands of my granddaughter during a vacation that was supposed to be perfect. My name is Victoria Miller. I am 60 years old, and I never imagined that happiness could shatter so quickly. It was July, and we had been planning this trip to Miami Beach for months. My son Ryan, his wife Chloe, my 11-year-old granddaughter Sophia, and I. A week at an oceanfront resort. I had saved up to pay for my part without them knowing. I wanted to feel useful, not like a burden. The first day was like a dream. We had pancakes and bacon together on the patio with an ocean view. Sophia ran to the beach with her yellow bucket, the same one she had used since she was little. Ryan took a picture of me with his phone and said, "Mom, you look happy." And I was. After my husband Frank passed away 5 years ago, these moments with my family were all I had left. But that afternoon, while Ryan and Chloe went snorkeling, something changed. Sophia approached me by the pool. I was sitting in a chair under an umbrella, reading a novel I never finished. She sat down next to me, soaking wet, her hair stuck to her face. She didn't say anything at first. She just looked at me with those dark eyes she inherited from her father. Then she pulled a piece of paper from the pocket of her bathing suit. It was wrinkled and damp. She handed it to me without smiling. "Open it when you're alone, Grandma," she whispered. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the breeze. "What is this, honey?" "Just open it, please." She stood up and ran back to the pool as if nothing had happened, but her shoulders were tense. And I, with that paper in my hands, felt that something bad was about to begin. I waited until Ryan and Chloe returned. I faked normalcy during dinner. But when we got to our rooms, I was sharing one with Sophia. I closed the bathroom door and unfolded the paper. The handwriting was Sophia's, shaky, written in haste. "Grandma, fake that you are sick and go home now. Please do not ask me why. Just do it. I'm begging you." My hands trembled. I read the message 3 times. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. What was going on? Why was my granddaughter asking me for something like this? What did she know that I didn't? I left the bathroom and found her lying down, with her back to me. She wasn't asleep. I could see the tension in her neck. "Sophia," I whispered. "What's wrong?" She didn't turn around. "You'll know tomorrow, Grandma. Just do what I asked." I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the sound of the ocean through the open window. That crumpled paper was under my pillow, as if it were a bomb about to explode. And the next day, 30 minutes after faking an unbearable stomachache, I discovered something that chilled me to the bone, something that changed everything I thought I knew about my family. The next morning, I woke up with my stomach truly churning, not from illness, but from fear. Sophia was already awake when I opened my eyes. She was sitting on the edge of her bed, looking at me. When our eyes met, she nodded slowly, as if giving me permission to do what I had to do. We went down to breakfast. Ryan was in a good mood, planning a boat ride for the day. Chloe was checking her phone, smiling at something she was reading. Everything seemed normal, perfect even, but I felt that paper burning in my robe pocket. "Ryan," I said, interrupting his enthusiasm, "I think I ate something that didn't agree with me." He looked up from his fruit plate. "Are you okay, Mom?" "My stomach hurts a lot, and I think I have a little fever." Chloe touched my forehead with the back of her hand, always so attentive, always so perfect. "You don't have a temperature, Victoria. Maybe you just need to rest a little." "No, it's more than that." I forced my voice to sound weak. "I think I need to go home." To my doctor. I have a feeling. Ryan put his fork down on the table. Mum, we're in Miami Beach. There are hospitals here if necessary. I'd rather be home. Please, son. I know my body. I saw something in Sophia's eyes. Relief and also terror. Ryan sighed. Chloe exchanged a look with him that I couldn't decipher. All right, my son finally said. I'll take you to the airport. We can change your ticket. No, no, I hurried to say. You stay. Enjoy yourselves. I can take a taxi and arrange my flight. I'm not going to ruin your vacation. Mom? I insist, Ryan. I'll be fine. I just need to rest in my own bed. Chloe smiled. It was a strange smile, one of relief. If you're sure, Victoria, but call us when you arrive. 2 hours later, I was in a taxi headed for the airport. I had paid $150 to change my ticket. Sophia had hugged me at the hotel door with a strength that scared me. I love you, Grandma, she whispered in my ear. Forgive me. Why are you asking me to forgive you, my love? But she just shook her head and ran back inside. The flight to Atlanta lasted a little over an hour. Every minute felt eternal. What was I going to discover? Why had Sophia insisted so much that I leave? I arrived home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My house. The same one where I raised Ryan. The same one where my husband Frank died in his favorite armchair, watching the sunset through the garden window. Everything was silent. I left my suitcase by the entrance and walked slowly through the living room. Nothing out of place. The same furniture. The same photographs on the walls. Ryan as a child. Ryan graduating from college. Ryan the day he married Chloe 13 years ago. Then I heard something. A noise upstairs, on the second floor in my bedroom. My heart started pounding so hard I thought I was going to faint. I went up the stairs slowly, clinging to the railing. Each step creaked beneath my feet. My bedroom door was ajar, and what I saw when I pushed it open completely took the air out of my lungs. Chloe, my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, my granddaughter's mother. She was standing in front of my dresser, opening the drawers. She had papers in her hands. My papers, documents for my deed, my will, my bank accounts. And she wasn't alone. A man I had never seen was with her. Tall, thin, wearing dark glasses. They were checking everything. They were taking pictures of documents with their cell phones. Chloe looked up, and she saw me. The colour drained from her face. Victoria! What are you doing in my house? My voice sounded stronger than I expected. Who is he? The man quickly put away his phone and walked towards the door. He passed me without looking. I heard his steps going down the stairs. The front door opened and closed. Chloe stayed there, my documents still in her hands. I can explain, she began, but I couldn't hear any more. Because in that moment, I understood everything. I understood why Sophia had given me that note. I understood why my granddaughter had risked everything to save me. And I understood that my family, the only one I had left, was about to fall apart before my eyes. Chloe put the papers down on my dresser. Her hands were shaking. Victoria, it's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like, I repeated her words as if they were another language. You're in my house, in my bedroom, going through my private documents with a stranger. What part isn't what it looks like? She ran her hands through her hair, that gesture she always made when she was nervous. I had seen it 1,000 times in these 13 years. When Sophia had a high fever, when Ryan lost his job 3 years ago, when my husband died and she cried in my arms. How could she be the same person? Please sit down, she said softly. Let me explain. I don't want to sit down. I want you to tell me what you were doing here. Chloe took a deep breath. She looked toward the window as if searching for the right words, or perhaps looking for a lie she could maintain. Ryan and I are going through a difficult time financially. I know. You told me. That's why I paid for half of this trip. Yes, and we appreciate it, but it's more serious than we let on. She sat down on the edge of my bed, where I slept with Frank for 35 years. Ryan has debts, a lot of them, from a business that went wrong. We are about to lose our house. I felt something constrict in my chest. Maternal worry. Ryan was my son, my only son. Why didn't you tell me? I can help. Chloe looked up. There was something in her eyes that I couldn't decipher. Because we knew you would say that. But you have expenses too, Victoria. Your pension isn't much. This house is big and old. It needs constant repairs. That's for me to decide, Chloe. It's my money, my house. I know. She rubbed her temples. But we thought you might be willing to sell the house to us. For a fair price, of course. And you could move in with us. Sophia would be happy to have you closer. I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. Sell you my house? Or put it in our name, to avoid future legal problems, so that when you're no longer here, there won't be any complications with heirs or taxes. I am perfectly healthy, Chloe, and Ryan is my only heir. What complications? She didn't answer right away, and in that silence, I began to understand. Who was that man? I asked. A financial advisor. A friend. He's helping us organize everything. Organize what, exactly? Victoria, please. Don't make this more difficult than it already is. I'm not making anything difficult. You entered my house without permission. You went through my things. You took pictures of my documents. We needed to know how much everything is worth, to crunch the numbers, to see if it's feasible. I sat down then, not because I wanted to, but because my legs couldn't support me anymore. Does Ryan know you're here? Chloe looked away. He agrees with the idea of you selling us the house, but he didn't know I was coming today. He thought you were right about your stomachache. And Sophia, how did she know? Chloe's face hardened. Sophia heard things she shouldn't have, conversations between Ryan and me. She adores you, Victoria. She's very protective of you, sometimes too much. Something in her tone gave me the chills. What do you mean, too much? Just that she's a child, and children don't understand the complexities of adult life. They don't understand that sometimes difficult decisions have to be made. I stood up then. I looked her straight in the eye. I want you out of my house, Chloe. Victoria. Now. She stood up. She smoothed her shirt. She regained that perfect composure that always characterized her. I'm going to call Ryan. He'll explain it better. Maybe you don't want to listen to me, but it will be different with your son. You can call whoever you want, but get out of my house. Chloe walked toward the door. She stopped at the frame and looked at me one last time. Think about it, Victoria. Think about Sophia, about her future, her education. She's going to be starting middle school. We need to give her the best. Sophia has the best. She has a grandmother who loves her. A grandmother can't pay for her college. And with those words, she left my room. I heard her footsteps going down the stairs, the door closing, the sound of a car driving away. I stayed there, standing in the middle of my bedroom. The documents were still on my dresser, scattered, evidence of an invasion, of a betrayal. I picked up my phone. I had 3 missed calls from Ryan, but I didn't call him back. Instead, I dialed another number, one I hadn't used in years, the number for Mitchell Anderson, the lawyer who had handled Frank's will, because now I understood that this wasn't just about money, this was about something much darker. And if Sophia had felt the need to warn me, it was because my granddaughter knew something I hadn't discovered yet, something that was about to change everything I thought I knew about my family. Mitchell Anderson answered on the 3rd ring. "Mr. Anderson, this is Victoria Miller, Frank Miller's widow." "Mrs. Miller, of course I remember you. How are you? Has it been 4 years since we settled the will?" "5, and I need to see you. Today, if possible." There was a pause. Mitchell was an observant man. He always had been. "Did something happen?" "I'd rather talk in person. Can I see you at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Does that work?" I looked at the clock. It was 3:30. "I'll be there." I hung up and sat on the living room sofa, the same one where Frank used to read the newspaper every morning. It still held his scent. Or maybe it was just my imagination clinging to what no longer existed. My phone vibrated. Ryan. I looked at the screen, his smiling photo next to Sophia at her last birthday. I let it vibrate until it stopped. Then it started again. Once, twice, 3 times. Finally, I answered. "Mum, what happened?" Chloe called me crying. "She says you kicked her out of the house." "Hello, Ryan. How's the vacation?" "Mum, don't play games. What is going on?" "What do you think is going on?" My voice sounded colder than I intended. "Your wife entered my house without permission. She went through my private documents. With a stranger. She explained it to me. It was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Mum, listen. I know it looks bad, but we had to crunch the numbers. We needed to know if selling your house could save us." I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Not physical. It was something worse. "Ryan, you are my son. If you need help, you ask me for it. We talk. You don't send your wife to rummage through my things as if I were already dead." "It wasn't like that. God, Mum, you always dramatize everything." Those words cut me more than any knife. "I dramatize?" "Yes, it's always been like that. Ever since Dad died, everything is a drama. You can't accept that life goes on, that we have real problems, adult problems." I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. "Ryan, I'm 60 years old. I raised a son alone after your father died. I've maintained this house. I've taken care of myself without being a burden to anyone. I am not dramatic. I am a woman who deserves respect." "I know, Mum, and we do respect you. That's why we're asking for your help." Asking or taking? Silence on the other end. "Look," Ryan continued in a softer, more calculated tone. "I know it was a mistake for Chloe to go without telling you. She is very stressed. I am very stressed. We owe $200,000. If we don't get it in 3 months, we lose our house. Sophia would have to change schools. Everything would fall apart." $200,000. It was a lot of money. But I had savings. I had this house, valued at almost $2 million. I had Frank's pension and mine. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because we knew you would want to help, and we didn't want to put that burden on you." "But if you want me to sell you my house," "Not sell it, put it in our name, to protect it, so that when you, well, you know, so that there are no legal problems." so that everything stays in the family. There was something in the way he said it, a coldness, a rush. Ryan, I'm healthy. I could live another 20 years. Of course, Mum. No one is saying otherwise. But his tone said exactly the opposite. What if I don't want to sell? What if I prefer to lend you the money? Another pause. It's more complicated than that. The debts are in the company's name. We need something bigger. Collateral. A guarantee. My house as a guarantee? Something like that. I got up from the sofa. I walked toward the window. The garden was neglected. The azaleas needed trimming. Frank always took care of that. Ryan, I need time to think. We don't have time, Mum. The creditors are pressuring us. How much time? Weeks. Maybe days. Days. My voice rose without me being able to control it. And you take me on vacation while you plan this. We didn't plan it that way. The trip opportunity came up, and we thought it would be good for everyone, to clear our heads, or to keep me away while Chloe went through my things. Stop it, Mum. Stop with the paranoia. And there it was, the anger, the true face behind the plea. I want to talk to Sophia, I said. Sophia is at the pool. Find her. Mum. Find her, Ryan. Now. I heard noises, footsteps, Ryan's voice calling Sophia in the distance, confused voices, and then finally my granddaughter's voice. Grandma. My love, are you okay? Yes. Her voice sounded small, scared. Are you okay? I'm fine. Thank you for warning me. Silence. I heard someone say something in the background. Probably Chloe. Grandma, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cause trouble. You didn't cause anything, honey. You did the right thing. Dad says I exaggerated, that I misinterpreted things. My heart broke a little more. Sophia, listen to me closely. You didn't misinterpret anything. You are a very smart and very brave girl. I have to hang up, Grandma. Mum is calling me. I love you, my angel. No matter what happens, remember that I love you. I love you too. The call cut off. I stayed there, phone in hand, feeling like everything solid in my life was crumbling. My son, my daughter-in-law, my house, my future. When had all this begun? When did I stop being the mother Ryan respected to become an obstacle he needed to remove? I thought of all those Sunday barbecues, all those times I watched Sophia when they needed to go out, all the times I said yes, when maybe I should have said no. I thought of Frank's funeral, Ryan crying in my arms, Chloe organizing everything with cold efficiency, and me, numb with grief, letting them make decisions for me. Your dad would want you to be calm, Ryan had told me then. We'll take care of everything. Since when did taking care of everything mean taking control? I looked at the clock. 4:20. I had to get ready to see Mr. Anderson. I changed my clothes, dark pants and a white blouse. I brushed my hair, still brown with some grey strands that I refused to dye. Frank always said they made me look distinguished. Before leaving, I went upstairs to my bedroom again. I took the documents that Chloe had left scattered. Deeds, will, bank statements. I put them in my purse. And then I saw something I hadn't noticed before. On my desk, next to the lamp Frank gave me for our 20th anniversary, there was a manila folder. It wasn't mine. I opened it. Inside were copies of my documents, copies of my will, and something else. A notarized document, half filled out, with my name. with the address of this house, a power of attorney, to transfer the property. They already had the form ready, only my signature was missing. I felt the world tilt. I sat on the bed because my legs wouldn't hold me. They weren't planning on asking me for the house. They were planning on taking it. And suddenly I understood why Sophia had been so scared. She had seen this document. She had heard conversations. She knew something was terribly wrong and had risked everything to save me. I put the document in my purse. I locked the house. I got into my car with trembling hands. As I drove through the streets of Atlanta, one question hammered in my head over and over. At what point had my family decided I was more valuable dead than alive? As I drive through the streets of Atlanta, I think about how many women must have gone through this. How many must have trusted too much? Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read them. At 5 o'clock on the dot, I was in Mitchell's office. He greeted me with a handshake and that professional look that inspired confidence. "Mrs. Miller, please sit down. Tell me what's going on." And I told him everything. Every word, every detail. The trip, Sophia's note, Chloe in my house, the conversation with Ryan, the half-filled notarized document. Mitchell listened without interrupting. He took notes. Every now and then he nodded. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. "Mrs. Miller, what you are describing to me is, at best, a serious invasion of your privacy, and at worst, preparations for fraud." Fraud? If someone tries to forge your signature or pressure you to affirm under false pretenses, that is fraud and a serious crime. But they are my family. That doesn't change the law. In fact, it makes it worse, because there is a relationship of trust they are violating. I rubbed my temples. The headache I had faked that morning was now real. What can I do? Mitchell leaned forward. "First, we are going to protect your assets. I am going to make some preliminary notes in the public registry. No one will be able to transfer your property without your explicit consent before a notary." Is that legal? Completely, and it's prudent. Second, I need you to leave that document you found with me. It's evidence. And third, he paused, do you still trust your son? That question disarmed me. "He's my son," I said simply. "That's not what I asked you." I looked out the office window. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink, the same colors Frank loved. "I don't know," I finally admitted. "I no longer know what to think." Mitchell nodded with understanding. "Then let's do this. Let's protect your assets while you decide what you want to do with your family. You don't have to make drastic decisions now, but you also cannot remain defenseless. And if they find out I came to you? That's your right, Mrs. Miller. You are not doing anything wrong. You are protecting what is yours." I signed the necessary papers. I left copies of everything. Mitchell promised to have the preliminary notes ready in 2 days. When I left his office, it was already dark. The city lights flickered like earthly stars. I drove slowly back home. I was in no hurry to get to that empty house, to that silence full of questions. When I opened the door, I found something I didn't expect. Sophia, my granddaughter, was sitting on the porch steps, with a small pink suitcase next to her. "Grandma," she said when she saw me. Her eyes were red from crying. "Can I stay with you?" I was paralyzed in the doorway, the keys still in my hand. Sophia was there, alone, at 7 o'clock in the evening, with a suitcase. "My love, how did you get here?" She stood up. She was wearing a pink sweatshirt and jeans, her hair in a messy ponytail. "By bus, and then by taxi." "By bus? All the way from Miami Beach?" She nodded. Do your parents know where you are? She shook her head. The tears started falling again. I hugged her, right there, on the porch, under the yellowish light of the exterior lamp. She smelled of sweat and fear, and that blend of strawberry shampoo she had used since she was little. Come inside, my angel, come inside. I led her in. I locked the door. I left her suitcase in the living room and guided her to the kitchen. Are you hungry? A little. I made her a ham and cheese sandwich, her favorite. I poured her a glass of milk. I sat across from her and waited. Sophia ate slowly. Every bite seemed difficult. When she finished, she wiped the crumbs from the table with the palm of her hand. That nervous gesture she made when she needed to talk but didn't know how to start. Grandma, she finally said, I have to tell you something. Something I heard. You can tell me anything. She took a deep breath. About 2 months ago, Dad and Mum had a really bad fight. I was upstairs doing homework, but I heard them yelling. They hardly ever yell, so I peeked over the stairs. She paused. She took a drink of milk. Dad was saying he couldn't take it anymore, that he was going to lose everything, that his partners were going to sue him, and Mom told him there was a solution, that you had this house, that it was worth a lot of money. I felt a lump in my throat, but I didn't say anything. I needed Sophia to finish. Dad said no, that you are his mom, that he couldn't do that to you. But Mom told him that you were alone, that you didn't have anyone but us, that it was better for the house to stay in the family before something happened. Before something happened? Sophia looked down. Mom said that people your age, they could get sick. They could have accidents, that it was better to be proactive. The words floated in the air like poison. And what did your dad say? He was quiet for a long time, and then he said, Fine, but it has to be done nicely. I don't want my mum to suffer. And Mum told him it was going to be easy, that they just needed you to sign some papers, that you wouldn't even realize what they meant. I closed my eyes. Every word was a dagger. Sophia, why didn't you tell me this before? Because I was scared. Scared it was my fault, that I had misunderstood. But then I started seeing things. What things? Mum was talking on the phone with someone. She always locked herself in her bedroom. One day I heard her say, In 3 months maximum, I promise you the house will be in our name. And then, about 2 weeks ago, I saw Dad filling out some documents on the computer. When I got closer, he closed the screen quickly, but I managed to see your name, Grandma, and the address of this house. Sophia started crying again. And then they planned the trip, and I heard Mum tell Dad, It's perfect. We'll take her with us, distract her. And in the meantime, someone can check the house to see exactly what's here. And Dad said, I don't know, Chloe, I feel bad. But Mum told him, Ryan, either we do this or we lose everything. Is that what you want? For Sophia to see us fail? My granddaughter looked at me with those eyes full of guilt, as if she were responsible for her parents' decisions. That's why I gave you the note, because I knew Mum was going to take advantage of that day to come here. And I didn't want anything bad to happen to you. I didn't want them to steal from you, Grandma. I hugged her again, this time tighter. You didn't do anything wrong, Sophia. Quite the opposite. You saved me. But what's going to happen now? Dad and Mum are super mad. Mum told me I was a traitor, that I ruined everything, that it was my fault we were going to lose the house. She told you that? Sophia nodded, sobbing. And Dad didn't defend me. He just told me to calm down, that I didn't understand adult things. But I do understand, Grandma. I understand that they wanted to take your house. I understand that's wrong. I got up, walked to the window. Outside, the garden was dark. The azaleas were just shadows against the sky. And that's why you came? Mom said that as soon as we got back to Atlanta, she was going to come and talk to you, to convince you, and that I couldn't interfere, that she would leave me with the neighbor all day if necessary. But I don't want them to convince you of anything, Grandma. This house is yours. Grandpa Frank bought it for you. You told me 1,000 times. She was right. Frank had worked all his life to pay for this house. Every brick had his sweat. Every window. His love. Do your parents know you're here? I left them a note. I said I was coming to stay with you, that I wasn't going to let them hurt you. Sophia, they must be so worried. Let them worry, the way I worried when I heard them planning how to take everything from you. There was an anger in her voice that was not typical of an 11-year-old. It was a righteous anger, an anger I myself was beginning to feel. My love, even though your parents did bad things, they are still your parents. They love you. Not the way you love me, Grandma. Those words broke me. I sat next to her again. I took her cold hands. Listen to me closely. We are going to solve this. I don't know how yet, but we are going to solve it. For now, you are staying with me, and tomorrow I will talk to your parents. Are you going to give them the house? No. Are you going to lend them money? I don't know. But what I do know is that no one is going to pressure me into making decisions, and no one is going to use my granddaughter as emotional blackmail. Sophia hugged me, and in that moment I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Clarity. For years I had made myself small. I had said yes when I wanted to say no. I had given in to keep the peace. I had accepted scraps of attention from my son because I was afraid of being completely alone. But now, with Sophia trembling in my arms, I understood something fundamental. I was not alone. I had this brave girl who had risked everything to protect me. And I had something more important. I had dignity. That night, I prepared the guest room for Sophia. I lent her a pair of my pajamas, which were huge on her. We laughed a little when she put them on, and the sleeves covered her hands. You look like a ghost, I told her. A protective ghost, she replied. I tucked her into bed. I kissed her on the forehead. Grandma, she whispered, do you think Mum and Dad hate me now? No, my love. They are confused and scared, but they don't hate you. And do you hate me for causing so much trouble? Hate you? Sophia, you are the best thing I have in this world. She smiled, and for the first time in hours, she seemed to relax. Good night, Grandma. Good night, my angel. I turned off the light and closed the door halfway. I went downstairs to the living room. My phone was blowing up. 10 missed calls from Ryan, 5 from Chloe, 3 text messages. I read them. Ryan. Mum. Sophia is gone. Is she with you? Please answer. Ryan. Mum. I need to know if my daughter is okay. Don't play with this. Chloe. Victoria, please. Tell Sophia we love her, that everything is going to be fine. We just want her to come back. I wrote a single message. Sophia is with me. She's fine. We'll talk tomorrow. Immediately, the phone started ringing. Ryan? I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the notebook where Frank used to write his reflections. I kept it in the coffee table drawer. I turned the pages until I found one he had written shortly before he died. It said, Victoria, if you ever feel lost, remember this. The most valuable thing we have is not this house. It's not the money. It's the ability to look at ourselves in the mirror and know that we lived with dignity. Never allow anyone, Not even our son, to take that away from you. I love you, Frank. I closed the notebook, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I couldn't sleep that night. I thought of all the women who must have kept silent out of fear, to maintain family peace, to avoid being the problem. As I tell all this, I wonder where you might be listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. I want to know how many of us have had to choose between family and our own dignity. I woke up early the next morning. Sophia was still asleep. I made coffee. I sat in the garden. The azaleas needed trimming, yes, but they were still beautiful. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I heard a car pull up in front of the house. Ryan and Chloe had returned from Miami Beach, and they were coming for their daughter, but they didn't know they were also coming to face something they had never had to face before. A mother who had decided to stop being convenient. I heard the car doors close. 2 doors. Hurried footsteps on the stone path leading to the front entrance. I didn't move from the garden. I remained seated in the wicker chair where Frank used to drink his coffee every morning. The same place where he had proposed to me 42 years ago, under this same sky that was now tinted a pale blue with the sunrise. They knocked on the door, insistent, desperate. "Mom, open up." I took the last sip of my coffee. I let it cool on my tongue. Then I got up, smoothed my robe, and walked slowly toward the door. When I opened it, Ryan and Chloe were there. He looked haggard, with deep circles under his eyes and wrinkled clothes. She maintained that perfect composure, but there was something wild in her eyes. Fear, contained, and anger. "Where is my daughter?" Ryan asked without even saying hello. "Good morning, Ryan." "Good morning, Chloe." "Mum, this is no time for formalities. Where is Sophia?" "She's asleep. She arrived very late last night." "What do you mean, arrived? You let an 11-year-old travel alone?" Chloe's voice was a sharp accusation. "I didn't let her do anything. She made her own decision." "She's a child," Chloe shouted. "She can't make those kinds of decisions." "Apparently she can. And she did, because she was afraid of you." Ryan closed his eyes. He ran his hands over his face. "Mum, please, we need to take her home. This is her home too. It always has been. You know what I mean." "Yes, I do. But you are not taking her until we talk. The 3 of us. Like adults." Chloe tried to pass. I stopped her with my arm. "Victoria, move." "No." We looked at each other. She was taller than me, younger, stronger. But in that moment, something in my gaze must have told her I wasn't going to budge. "All right," Ryan said, putting a hand on Chloe's shoulder. "Let's talk, but not out here. The neighbors." I let them in. We closed the door. I led them to the living room. No one sat down. We stood there, forming a tense triangle, like boxers before the first bell. "Sophia told us everything," I said bluntly. Chloe paled. Ryan swallowed. "Everything what?" he asked, but his voice lacked conviction. "Everything, Ryan. The conversations she heard, the plans, the notarized document you left in my room. Everything." "That child doesn't understand," Chloe began. "That child understands perfectly, probably more than the 2 of you put together." "Mum?" Ryan raised his hands in a conciliatory gesture. "All right. We had a plan, but it wasn't a bad one. It wasn't against you." "It wasn't against me? Entering my house without permission? Going through my documents? Preparing papers to transfer my property? What do you call that?" "Desperation," he replied, and there were tears in his eyes. "Mum, I'm desperate. You don't know what it's like to wake up every day, knowing that everything you built is falling apart. The company, the savings, the house, everything. Then you should have talked to me, asked for help, the way a son talks to his mother. We did. We were telling you in a nice way. We were going to offer you a fair deal. Fair? My voice rose uncontrollably. Fair is planning everything behind my back. Fair is manipulating me. Fair is taking me on vacation while you go through my things like vultures. Enough. Chloe took a step forward. Victoria, stop dramatizing. No one was stealing from you. We just wanted to protect the family assets. Protect them or appropriate them. It's the same thing. No, Chloe. It is not the same thing. Ryan sank onto the sofa. He looked broken. Completely broken. Mum, I'm going to lose everything. Do you understand? In 2 months, if I don't pay that debt, they are going to foreclose on our house. They are going to sue me. They are going to destroy my reputation. I won't be able to get a job. Sophia will have to leave her school. Everything I've given them, everything we've built, is going to hell. His voice cracked. And for a moment, I saw the boy he used to be, the boy who cried when he fell off his bike, the teenager who hugged me when his dad had his first heart attack, the man who swore at his wedding that he would always take care of his family. When had that man been lost? How much do you owe exactly? I asked. Ryan and Chloe exchanged a look. $200,000, he said. But with interest and penalties, it's almost $300,000. And where did that debt come from? The company. I invested in a project that didn't work out. The partners pulled out. They left me alone with all the liabilities. And your house, is it mortgaged? Yes. And we can't pay the mortgage either. How much do you owe on the mortgage loan? $700,000. Still. I did the math in my head. $1 million in total. It was a lot of money. Too much. And you thought that by taking my house you could solve everything? Not taking it, Chloe quickly clarified. Selling it or using it as collateral for a new loan. This house is worth $2 million, Victoria. Maybe more. With that, we could pay everything off and start over. And me? Where would I be in that starting over? With us, Ryan said. Mum, the idea was always for you to live with us, so you wouldn't be alone in this big house. So Sophia would have you close, for us to be a family. A family that takes my house. A family that integrates you. I sat down then, on Frank's sofa, the one no one else used because everyone knew it was his spot. Let me see if I understand, I said slowly, choosing every word. You wanted me to sell or give up my house, the house Frank and I bought with a lifetime of work, to save you from a bad investment. And in exchange, I would live with you, in your house, which is also about to be foreclosed on. Is that what you call a fair deal? The silence that followed was deafening. When you put it that way, Ryan murmured. Is there another way to put it? Chloe crossed her arms. Victoria, you don't have children to support. You don't have a business. You don't have the pressures we have. It's easy for you to judge. Easy? Do you think my life has been easy? I didn't say that. Yes, you did. You just did. I stood up. I raised Ryan practically alone because Frank worked day and night to keep this house. When he died, I was left with a small pension and a lot of medical debts. I worked as a piano teacher for 3 more years to pay everything off. Every dollar I have, every penny saved, is because I earned it, with effort, with sacrifice. And now you come here to tell me it's easy for me. Chloe looked down. Ryan stood up. Mum, I'm sorry. We did everything wrong. Everything. But you can't punish us for this. We are your family. And you cannot use that as an excuse to take advantage of me. We're not taking advantage. Yes, you are. My voice echoed off the walls. Ever since Frank died, I've said yes to everything. Yes, I can watch Sophia even if I have my own plans. Yes, I can lend you money even if I barely have enough. Yes, I can shut up when you talk to me disrespectfully. I've said yes so many times that you forgot I also have the right to say no. Mum, I haven't finished. I raised a hand. You didn't come to ask me for help. You came to take what you wanted. And when Sophia, an 11-year-old girl, had the courage to defend her grandmother, you called her a traitor. How dare you? Chloe took a step back. For the first time, I saw her without that mask of perfection. I saw fear, real fear. She shouldn't have gotten involved in adult things, she murmured. She got involved because the adults were doing things they shouldn't have. Victoria, please. Ryan approached me. I don't want to fight. I don't want to lose you. You are my mum. I love you. And I know we did wrong, but I'm scared. I'm so afraid of losing everything that I did things I never thought I would do. I looked him in the eyes, those eyes that were just like Frank's, and I saw the truth there. He was scared. He was desperate. But fear did not justify betrayal. Ryan, I'm scared too. I'm afraid of getting old and losing my independence. I'm afraid of being a burden. I'm afraid that one day you will decide I'm a nuisance and put me in a nursing home. And what you did, planning all this behind my back, confirmed that fear was real. We would never do that. Never. How can I believe you? If you were capable of planning to take my house, what else are you capable of doing? Ryan collapsed, literally. He fell to his knees in front of me. Forgive me, Mum. Please forgive me. He cried, as I hadn't seen him cry since his father's funeral. A deep, guttural cry from a man who had hit rock bottom. Chloe remained paralyzed. She looked at her husband on the floor and didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do either. Part of me wanted to hug him, comfort him, tell him everything would be all right. But another part, a part that had been asleep for years, told me that if I gave in now, I would never regain my dignity. Get up, Ryan. He looked at me from the floor. Please, Mum, tell me what you want me to do. Anything. But don't reject me. Don't turn your back on me. I'm not turning my back on you. I'm setting a boundary. I crouched down to his level. Listen to me closely. I am going to help you, but not in the way you planned. I'm going to lend you $100,000. It's all I can give you without compromising my own security. You can use it to negotiate with your creditors, to buy time. But my house is not on the table. My house is not part of any negotiation. Understood? Yes, yes, Mum. Thank you. Thank you. And there are conditions, whatever they are. First, you are going to sign a legal document acknowledging that it is a loan, not a gift. A loan that you will repay when you can, without interest, but you will repay it. Ryan nodded. Second, you are going to family therapy. The three of you, Chloe, and Sophia, because this is not fixed with money alone. There are broken things here that need to heal. Chloe opened her mouth to protest, but Ryan stopped her with a look. Agreed, he said. And third, Sophia is staying with me for 1 week. She needs space. She needs to feel safe. And you need to understand that she is not a weapon you can use against me or me against you. She is a child and deserves to be in a home where she doesn't have to choose sides. Ryan got up. He hugged me. Hard. Too hard. Thank you, Mum. You don't know what this means. Yes, I do. It means I am still your mother, but it also means I will no longer allow myself to be treated as a resource you can exploit. Chloe approached. For the first time since I met her, I saw her vulnerable. Victoria, I'm sorry. Truly, I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted to save my family. Your family includes Sophia, and she didn't feel safe. Doesn't that tell you something? Chloe nodded. A tear rolled down her cheek. I will fix it. I promise you. Don't promise me. Promise her. At that moment, we heard footsteps on the stairs. The three of us turned. Sophia was there, halfway down the stairs, with my pajamas covering her whole body. She had heard everything. Mummy! Daddy! Ryan ran up. He picked her up. She was almost too big for that, but she let him. She buried her face in her father's shoulder and cried. I'm sorry, Princess. I'm so sorry. Chloe also went up. The three of them hugged there, on the stairs. I stayed below, watching them. And I felt something strange. It wasn't happiness. Not yet. But it wasn't the sharp pain I had felt these last few days either. It was something like peace, the certainty of having done the right thing, even though it hurt. Grandma, Sophia called from her father's arms. Can I really stay with you this week? Of course, my love. And can we bake chocolate chip cookies, like before? Any kind you want. She smiled, and in that smile I saw something that filled my heart. I saw that, despite everything, there was still hope. I still wonder if I did the right thing by helping them after everything they did. What would you have done in my place? Would you have given them another chance? Or would you have closed the door forever? Leave me your answer in the comments. Ryan and Chloe stayed for one more hour. We talked about the practical details, the loan, the therapy sessions, how we were going to rebuild trust. Before leaving, Ryan hugged me one last time. Mum, I know I disappointed you, but I'm going to earn your trust back. I swear. Don't swear to me, Ryan. Show me. He nodded and left. Chloe stayed a moment longer. She looked at me with those eyes that now seemed different, more human, less calculating. Victoria, I grew up in a family where everything was a transaction. My father taught us that love is shown with success, with money, with achievements. I never learned that it's okay to ask for help without having to manipulate to get it, but I'm going to learn. For Sophia, for Ryan, and for you. I didn't know what to reply, so I just nodded. When they left, I closed the door and leaned against it. Sophia was in the kitchen pouring herself a glass of juice. Grandma? Yes, my love. Thank you for not hating them. I could never hate your dad. He's my son, but I also won't allow them to disrespect me. There's a difference. I know. She drank her juice. Are we really going to bake cookies? Really, the chocolate chip ones? Any kind you want, Sophia smiled. And for the first time in days, I smiled too. That afternoon, while we mixed flour and sugar, while the sweet smell filled the kitchen, while Sophia told me about her school and her friends, I understood something fundamental. Family is not who uses you, family is who values you. And sometimes the family you choose, the one that chooses you, is stronger than the one that shares your blood. That night, when Sophia fell asleep, I sat in the garden again. The azaleas still needed trimming, but I would take care of them tomorrow. Tomorrow I would start rebuilding, not just the garden, not just the relationship with Ryan, but myself, the woman I almost lost along the way, the woman Frank loved, the woman who deserved respect. That woman was still here, and was not going to disappear again. The first night Sophia stayed with me after her parents left, I heard her crying. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I was awake, like so many nights since Frank died. The house makes different noises in the dark, creaks, sighs, as if it missed his presence too. I got up and walked barefoot to the guest room. I knocked softly. Sophia. I'm fine, Grandma. But her voice trembled. I opened the door. She was huddled under the covers, hugging the pillow. Can I come in? She nodded. I sat on the edge of her bed. I stroked her hair, that gesture I had made since she was a baby. Do you want to tell me what's wrong? I miss my house, even though I know I shouldn't. Why shouldn't you? Because everything was wrong there. Mum and Dad fought. There was shouting. There were lies. But it was my house, my room, my things. It's normal to miss the familiar, my love, even if it wasn't perfect. Do you miss Grandpa? The question took me by surprise. It had been months since Sophia had mentioned Frank. Every day, even though he's no longer here, especially because he's no longer here. Sophia turned to look at me. Her eyes shone in the gloom. Do you think Mum and Dad are going to get divorced? There it was, the real fear. I don't know, honey, but if they do, it won't be your fault. Mum said I ruined everything, that if I hadn't opened my mouth, you guys would be fine. I felt a surge of anger, but I contained it. Sophia, look at me. Your mum was angry. She said things she shouldn't have said. But none of this, absolutely nothing, is your fault. Adults make decisions, and adults are responsible for the consequences, not children. But I was the one who gave you the note. I ruined their plan. You protected me. There is a huge difference. What if Dad loses everything now because of me? If your dad loses something, it will be because of his own decisions, not yours. She was quiet for a moment. Grandma, do you think I'm a bad daughter? That question broke my heart in half. You're the best daughter they could have. And someday when you are older, you will understand that what you did was an act of love. Love towards me and also love towards them, even if they don't see it now. How can it be love if I made them suffer? Because sometimes loving means telling the truth, even if it hurts, even if it costs you. Sophia hugged me, and we cried together, she for her broken family, I for my son, lost in his own mistakes. We slept together that night in the guest bed, like when she was little and was afraid of thunder. The following days we established a routine. I woke up early, prepared breakfast, scrambled eggs, hash browns, warm biscuits, the things Frank loved, and that I had stopped cooking because it seemed like a waste to make them just for me. But now I had Sophia. She came downstairs in her pajamas, her hair messy, and sat at the kitchen table. She told me her dreams, I told her mine, plans for the day, simple things. Today we are going to trim the azaleas, I told her one Tuesday. Me too? Especially you. I need your help. Her eyes lit up. We worked in the garden all morning. Sophia learned to cut the dry branches without hurting the new ones. She learned that sometimes you have to remove the dead to allow the living to grow. It's like us, isn't it, Grandma? She said, wiping the sweat from her forehead. What do you mean? Sometimes you have to cut off what is hurting you to be able to grow. 11 years old, and she already understood what took me 60 years to learn. Ryan called every day. At first, the conversations were awkward, full of heavy silences. How is Sophia? She's fine, eating well, sleeping better. Is she giving you any trouble? Not at all. She's an angel. Mum, can we talk about what happened? We already talked, Ryan. No, not really. You set your conditions, I accepted them. But we never talked about how I feel. How do you feel? Like garbage. His honesty disarmed me. Ryan, no, let me finish. I feel like garbage because the only person who has always been there for me, the only one who has never failed me, is the same person I was on the verge of betraying, and I can't forgive myself for that. I heard his ragged breathing on the other end of the phone. Are you crying? Yes, and I don't care to admit it, because crying is the least I can do after everything. Son, we all make mistakes. Not mistakes, Mum. I made conscious decisions. I planned things. I lied. To you, to Sophia, to myself. And Chloe? A long pause. Chloe and we're not good, what happened. She says I exaggerate, that I dramatize what we did, that it was actually a smart plan and that you're the one being difficult. I felt a chill in my stomach. And what do you think? I think I'm married to someone I no longer recognize, or maybe never knew. Ryan, don't make hasty decisions. I'm not making them. I'm just seeing reality for the first time in years. We hung up shortly after, but that conversation stayed in my head all day. On Thursday, Chloe showed up unannounced. She knocked on the door at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Sophia was doing her homework at the dining room table. When I opened the door and saw her there, I knew something had changed. She had deep circles under her eyes. Her makeup didn't quite cover them. Her clothes, always impeccable, were wrinkled. She carried a plastic bag in her hand. Can I come in? Of course. I closed the door behind her. Sophia looked up from her notebooks. The tension in her body was immediate. Hi, Mum. Hi, honey. How are you? Fine. Can I talk to you? Sophia looked toward me. I nodded my head. All right. Go to the living room. Chloe and Sophia sat on the sofa. I stayed nearby, but not too close. Close enough to intervene if necessary. Sophia, I came to apologize. My granddaughter didn't say anything. She just waited. What I said the other day, about you ruining everything, about you being a traitor, I shouldn't have said it. I was angry. I was scared. But that's no excuse. Why were you scared? Sophia asked, in a voice smaller than usual. Because I'm afraid of losing our house, of your dad and I not being able to give you everything you deserve, of you seeing me as a failure. I've never seen you that way. I know, but I see myself that way. And when you defended your grandmother, I felt like you were choosing her side instead of ours. I wasn't choosing sides, Mum. I was doing the right thing. Chloe nodded. A tear rolled down her cheek. I know, and you are right. You are wiser than me, Sophia, and that makes me ashamed. She took something out of the plastic bag. A box. She opened it. Inside was a necklace. Simple. A silver chain with a heart-shaped pendant. This belonged to my grandmother, the only thing I have of hers, and I want it to be yours. Sophia looked at the necklace, then at her mother. Why? Because my grandmother was the only person who taught me that it's okay not to be perfect, that it's okay to make mistakes if you learn from them, and you are teaching me the same thing. She put the necklace on Sophia. My granddaughter touched it carefully, as if it were something sacred. Thank you, Mum. They hugged. And for the first time, I saw something genuine in Chloe, something vulnerable, something human. When they separated, Chloe looked at me. Victoria, can I talk to you too? Of course. We went out to the garden. The freshly trimmed azaleas looked stronger, more alive, I went to therapy, Chloe said without preamble. Alone, before the family therapy. I needed to understand why I did what I did. And what did you discover? That I'm afraid of not being enough. All my life I've tried to prove that I am successful, that I am a good wife, a good mother, a good daughter-in-law. But in the process, I lost sight of who I really am. And who are you? I don't know, but I want to find out. We walked a bit. The sun was starting to set. The sky was tinted orange and pink. Victoria, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I want you to know something. What? When I saw the fear in Sophia's eyes, when I realized that my daughter was more afraid of me than she was trusting, something broke inside me, and I realized I was repeating the same patterns I grew up with. My mother always made me feel that her love was conditional, that I had to earn her approval, and without realizing it, I was doing the same thing to Sophia. But you still have time to change it. You think so? I know so, because you came today. You apologized. You gave her something valuable. Those are acts of real love. Chloe wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Ryan and I are separating temporarily. My heart sank. What? It's not a divorce. Not yet. But we need space. He moved in with a friend. I stayed at the house. We're trying to figure out if we still want to be together, or if we've only been together out of habit. And Sophia knows? Not yet. We wanted to wait until she came back, but maybe it's better if you tell her. Why me? Because she trusts you, and because you know how to say difficult things without destroying people. I didn't know if that was a compliment or a burden I didn't want to carry. Chloe, I can't be the bridge between you and your daughter. She needs you to talk to her directly. I know, but you can be there when we do it. Please, I'm counting on you. That night, after Chloe left, I told Sophia what was coming. She didn't cry. She just nodded. I guess I knew it. How? Because Dad wasn't sleeping at home even before the trip. He said he had to stay at the office, but I knew that was a lie. Are you worried? Yes, but it's also a relief. Why? Because maybe now they'll stop pretending, and pretending hurts more than the truth. 11 years old. This girl was 11 years old and understood things that many adults never grasp. On Friday, Mitchell Anderson called me. Mrs. Miller, the preliminary notes are ready. Your house is protected. No one can do anything without your explicit authorization. Thank you, Mitchell. Is there something else? What? I conducted a discreet investigation into your son's debts, and I found something you should know. What did you find? The debts are not as big as he says. It's $200,000, yes, but he has assets he can liquidate. A car worth $100,000. Fund investments for $50,000 more. If he wanted to, he could solve a large part of the problem without touching your house. I sat down. My legs were trembling. Are you saying he lied to me about the seriousness of the situation? I'm not saying he lied. I'm saying he exaggerated, perhaps unconsciously, perhaps because fear blinded him. But the reality is that his situation, although difficult, is not catastrophic. I hung up and stared at the phone. Did Ryan know? Or did he truly believe he had no options? On Saturday, we had a barbecue. I invited Ryan and Chloe, separately but at the same time. We needed to talk. All four of us. Ryan arrived first. He brought a bottle of wine and flowers, yellow roses, my favorites. Mum. Son. We hugged. But not like before. Now there was something different. A distance, a respect born of pain. Chloe arrived 10 minutes later. She brought a chocolate cake, the one she knew Sophia loved. We all sat in the garden, at the wooden table that Frank built with his own hands. "Before we eat," I said, "I need to tell you something." Everyone looked at me. "I spoke with my lawyer. He conducted an investigation into your financial situation." Ryan paled. "He investigated?" "Yes, and he discovered that you have options, assets you can liquidate, ways to solve part of the problem without my help." "Mum, those assets they are yours, Ryan, and they are real solutions that you chose to ignore because it was easier to ask me." The silence was dense. "I am going to keep my promise," I continued. "I'm going to lend you $100,000, but I want you to know that it wasn't necessary, that you had ways to get out of this on your own, and that you chose the easy way instead of the right one." Ryan lowered his head. "You're right. I have a car. I have investments. But selling them meant accepting failure. And I didn't want you to see me fail. I would rather see you fail honestly than see you succeed dishonestly." Those words hung in the air. "Is that what you think of me?" he asked with a broken voice. "That I'm dishonest?" "I think you made dishonest decisions, but you can still change that." Chloe intervened. "Victoria, I understand your point, but when you are panicking, you don't think clearly. Ryan and I were drowning, and when you're drowning, you grab the first thing you find, even if it's something that doesn't belong to you." "And now? Are you still drowning?" They looked at each other. "We are learning to swim," Ryan said finally. That night, while I was washing the dishes and Sophia was helping to dry them, I thought about all the families going through the same thing: economic crises that break the strongest bonds, desperate decisions that cost more than they imagine. Has your family gone through a crisis like this? How did you overcome it? Tell me in the comments. Sometimes sharing our story helps to heal. When everyone left, Sophia and I stayed alone in the garden. "Grandma, do you think Mum and Dad will get back together?" "I don't know, my love. But what I do know is that no matter what happens, you are going to be fine, because you have people who love you, and because you are stronger than you think." "And you? Are you going to be all right?" I looked at her, this girl who had sacrificed so much for me. "I'm already all right, Sophia. For the first time in a long time. I'm all right." And it was true. That night I slept deeply, without nightmares, without fear, because I finally understood something Frank always knew. Dignity is not negotiated, respect is not begged for, and true love does not need to sacrifice anyone to exist. The azaleas in the garden kept growing, and so did I. 2 weeks later, Sophia went back to her parents. It wasn't easy to let her go. I had gotten used to her presence, her laughter in the kitchen, finding her shoes thrown by the entrance, waking up and knowing I wasn't alone. But she needed to try to rebuild her life with Ryan and Chloe, and I needed to learn to be alone without feeling abandoned. The morning she left, we packed her things in silence. I folded her clothes, the ones she had brought, and something I bought for her during her stay, and put them in her pink suitcase. "Grandma, can I come on weekends?" "Anytime you want." "What if things get difficult at home?" "Then you call me." "Anytime, even if it's in the middle of the night, especially if it's in the middle of the night." She smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. When Ryan arrived to pick her up, the hug we shared at the door was long, too long, as if we both knew that something had changed forever between us, not in a bad way. There was simply a depth that hadn't existed before, a silent pact, a promise of mutual protection. "I love you, Grandma." And I love you, my angel, more than words can say." They left. The house was empty, but not in the painful way I expected, but in a quiet, contemplative way. I walked through every room, touched the walls, the same walls that had heard my laughter with Frank, my cries when he died, my conversations with Sophia. This house wasn't just wood and cement. It was history. It was memory. It was identity. And I almost lost it. That afternoon, I received an unexpected call. "Mrs. Victoria Miller?" "Yes, that's me." "This is Mr. Arthur Miller from the First National Bank. We have a loan application registered with a mortgage guarantee on your property located at—" "What application?" "An application submitted 3 weeks ago by Mr. Ryan Miller, who is listed as your son and alleged legal proxy. I never gave my son power of attorney for anything related to this house." Silence on the other end. "Ma'am, I have here a copy of a notarized document dated August 15th, where you supposedly grant him broad and sufficient power." "That's impossible. I never signed anything like that." "Are you sure?" "Completely sure." More silence. "Mrs. Miller, I think you need to contact a lawyer immediately. This could be a case of document forgery." I hung up with trembling hands. August 15th, 3 weeks before the trip to Miami Beach, 3 weeks before Sophia gave me that note. I called Mitchell Anderson. "Mr. Anderson, I need to see you. Now." An hour later, I was in his office. I told him everything. The call from the bank, the dates, the details. Mitchell checked his computer files. "Mrs. Miller, there's something I didn't tell you because I didn't want to alarm you unnecessarily. But when I investigated your son's debts, I also checked recent movements in the public registry. And there is an attempt to register a notarized power of attorney in Ryan Miller's name, dated August 15th. But it was not completed because the signature did not exactly match the one we have registered on your previous deeds." I felt the world tilt. "Are you saying they tried to forge my signature? Ryan or someone close to him?" "That appears to be the case." I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. What can I do? "Legally, you can file a complaint for document forgery. It is a serious crime. Your son could face criminal charges." "And if I don't want to do that?" "Then you can simply block any future attempts. Make a formal declaration before a notary that any previous document with your alleged signature is fraudulent. That will protect your assets without necessarily destroying your son." "But he would know that I know what he did." "Yes, and he would have to face it." "Yes." I was quiet for a long time. Mitchell waited patiently. "I want to make the formal declaration," I finally said. "But first, I need to talk to Ryan, face to face. I need to hear him admit what he did." "Are you sure? He might deny it." "Then I will go ahead with the complaint, but I need to give him the opportunity to be honest." Mitchell nodded. "As you say. But be careful, Mrs. Miller. Sometimes desperate people do unpredictable things." That night I called Ryan. "Son, I need to see you." "Of course, Mum. When?" "Tomorrow. At my house. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon." "Did something happen?" "We need to talk." "Mum, you're scaring me." "Tomorrow, Ryan. Come alone. Without Chloe. Without Sophia." "All right." I hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned in bed, rehearsing what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, trying to prepare myself to see the truth in my son's eyes. Ryan arrived on time. He wore a grey sweater and jeans. He looked tired, older than his 37 years indicated. "Hi, Mum." "Hi, son. Sit down." He sat on the sofa. I remained standing in front of him. I needed to have that advantage, even if it was symbolic. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I received a call from the First National Bank." I watched the color drain from his face. "Mum, let me finish. They called me to confirm a loan application with a mortgage guarantee on my house. An application that I supposedly authorized through a notarized power of attorney signed on August 15th. I can explain." "Can you? Because I would love to hear you explain why you tried to forge my signature to mortgage my house without my consent." He stood up. "It wasn't like that. It wasn't my idea." "Whose was it then?" "Mum, I was desperate. Chloe knew someone, a broker. He said he could help us, that he could get the loan without you having to worry. I signed the papers, but I didn't know they were going to forge your signature. I swear to you." "Didn't you know, or didn't you want to know?" He was quiet. "Ryan, look me in the eyes and tell me the truth. Did you know they were going to forge my signature or not?" He looked at me, and in that moment, I saw the answer before he spoke. "I suspected it," he admitted in a broken voice. "The broker told me he needed a copy of your ID and a reference signature. I gave him everything. And when he asked if you agreed, I said yes. I said we had talked, that you were in the process of giving me the power, but that we needed to expedite it because of the bank's timeline." I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. "You lied? In my name?" "It wasn't a lie, not really, because I thought you would eventually agree, that when you saw how serious the situation was, you would understand. And if I didn't agree?" Silence. "What were you going to do if I didn't agree, Ryan?" "I don't know. I guess I hoped you wouldn't find out until it was already done." Those words cut me deeper than any knife. "Were you going to steal my house?" "It wasn't stealing. It was using an asset that was there, that was eventually going to be mine anyway." He stopped. Too late. The words were already out. "Eventually going to be yours?" I repeated slowly. "Are you referring to when I die?" He closed his eyes. "I didn't mean it that way." "But you thought it. You thought it, Ryan. And the worst part is, you made decisions based on it. As if I were already dead. As if my life, my will, my dignity didn't matter because eventually everything was going to be yours anyway." "Mum, please." "When?" I asked. "When did I stop being your mother to become an obstacle, an asset to be managed?" "I never thought of you that way." "No? Because your actions say exactly that." Ryan sank onto the sofa. He covered his face with his hands. "I don't know what happened to me. I don't know what I turned into." "I do know. You turned into someone who puts money before people, who puts success before integrity. And I don't blame only you." He looked up. "Me?" "Yes, because I taught you to be compliant. I taught you that love is shown by solving problems. That being a good son meant never saying no to me. And without realizing it, I turned you into someone who doesn't know how to face his own failures, without looking for someone to blame or take advantage of." "Mum, don't say that. It's the truth. And the truth hurts, but it also frees." I sat next to him. I didn't touch him. I couldn't yet. "Ryan, I am going to make a formal declaration before a notary. I'm going to make it clear that any document with my alleged signature that has not been personally signed by me before a notary is fraudulent." "Are you going to file a complaint against me?" "No, although I could, although maybe I should." "Then what?" "I'm going to give you one last chance, but with non-negotiable conditions." "Whatever they are." "First, You are going to confess everything to Chloe. Everything. Not just the part where you are the victim, the part where you were an accomplice, the part where you put my assets at risk without my consent. He nodded. Second, you are going to liquidate your assets, the car, the investments, everything you have, and you are going to pay your debts without my money. But you said you were going to lend me money. I changed my mind, because now I understand that lending you money would make it easier for you to continue evading responsibility. You need to hit rock bottom, Ryan. You need to feel the weight of your decisions. I'm going to lose the house. Maybe, or maybe you'll find another way. But that is not my responsibility. And Sophia? She will suffer. Sophia has already suffered when she had to choose between protecting me or being loyal to her parents. When she had to carry secrets that were not hers to carry. She has already suffered, Ryan, and I will not allow you to use her suffering to manipulate me. He started to cry, a deep cry, one of those that shake the whole body. I'm sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry. I know, but I'm sorry doesn't undo what was done. Will you forgive me someday? I don't know. Ask me in a few years. Years? Yes, because real forgiveness takes time and requires change. Not words, real change. I stood up. You can stay here as long as you need to pull yourself together. But when you leave this house, I want you to understand something. What? That you are my son. You always will be. But my love for you no longer means sacrificing myself. It means loving you enough to let you face the consequences of your actions, because that is the only way you are going to grow. I left the living room. I went up to my bedroom. I closed the door. And then finally I cried. I cried for the son I thought I had, for the relationship I thought we had, for the lost innocence, for the broken trust. But I also cried with relief, because for the first time in my life, I had chosen my dignity over comfort. I had chosen the truth over false peace. And even though it hurt, God, how it hurt, I knew it was the right thing to do. That night, when Ryan finally left, I sat in the garden. The azaleas were blooming, pink, fuchsia, white, a festival of colour against the dark sky. Frank always said that azaleas were resilient, that you could cut them, prune them, even almost kill them, and still they would come back, stronger, more beautiful. See, my love, I said to the air, you were right. Again. My phone rang. It was a message from Sophia. Grandma, Dad came home crying. Are you guys okay? I replied. We're fine, my angel. Sometimes people need to cry to start healing. Your dad and I are going to be fine. I love you. I love you, Grandma. Thank you for being strong. I put the phone away. Being strong. For years I thought being strong meant enduring, smiling, saying yes, keeping the peace at any cost. But now I understood that true strength was something else. It was saying no. It was setting boundaries. It was choosing self-respect, even when it hurt. It was loving without losing yourself in the process. 2 days later, I signed the formal declaration before the notary. Mitchell accompanied me. It is perfectly clear, he said when we left. No one will be able to do anything with your property without your physical presence and your signature before witnesses. Thank you, Mitchell. How do you feel? Like I just woke up from a nightmare. And your son? He's selling his car, liquidating his investments, learning to live with the consequences. And you? Do you feel guilty? A little, but less every day. Mitchell smiled. Mrs. Miller, I have worked with many families in similar situations, and let me tell you something. What you did, setting boundaries, demanding respect, refusing to be a victim, is the bravest thing I've seen in a long time. I don't feel brave. Brave people never do. That's why they are brave. A week later, Chloe called. Victoria, can we talk? Of course. Ryan told me everything about the attempt to forge your signature, about the loan, everything. And I'm furious. With him, but also with myself, because I pushed him down that path. I was the one who insisted that we had to do whatever was necessary. I was the one who contacted the broker. I know. You knew? I suspected it. Silence on the other end. Are you going to file a complaint against me? No. Why not? Because filing a complaint against you wouldn't give me back what I lost. And because, strangely, I think you are learning, just like Ryan. I don't deserve your compassion. It's not compassion. It's exhaustion. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of being the victim. I want to live, Chloe, simply live. And us? Where do we fit in? That depends on you. You can continue to see me as an asset, or you can start to see me as a person, as someone who deserves respect, dignity, real love. We want the second. I promise you. Don't promise me. Show me. We hung up. And for the first time since all this began, I felt something like hope. Not the naive hope that everything would go back to how it was, but the wise hope that something new, something better, could be built on the ruins of what broke. That night I prepared Frank's favourite dinner, roast turkey with mashed potatoes and homemade biscuits. I set the table for one, I served the food, I lit a candle, and as I ate alone in my kitchen, in my house, surrounded by my memories and my decisions, I understood something fundamental. The solitude you choose is freedom. The solitude you fear is a prison. And I had just chosen to be free. That is the solitude of all women who have had to make decisions like this. Decisions that break, but also heal. Decisions that hurt, but also liberate. Have you ever had to choose your dignity over maintaining family peace? Tell me about it. Sometimes we need to know that we are not alone in these silent battles. The next day, something unexpected began. Something I never planned. Something that would change not only my life, but also the way my family saw me. But that story was still to be written. 3 months after that confrontation with Ryan, my life had taken a turn I never imagined. Not in the dramatic way you see in movies, but in that quiet way life gives you back what you lost when you finally learn to value yourself. It all started with the piano lessons. I had stopped teaching when Frank died. It seemed meaningless to me that my music had died with him. But one afternoon, while cleaning the study, that room that had been closed for 5 years, I found the sheet music he loved. Chopin, Debussy, Satie. I sat at the piano, played one note, then another, and suddenly I was playing Debussy's Clair de Lune, the piece I played the day I met Frank at that university party more than 40 years ago. When I finished, I had tears on my cheeks, but they weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of reunion. The next day, I posted an ad in the local newspaper and on a neighborhood Facebook group. Piano teacher with 35 years of experience offers private lessons, all levels, first class free. In 2 days, I had 5 applications. In 1 week, I had 10 students. And for the first time since Frank died, I had a purpose that didn't depend on anyone else. My students were diverse, children, teenagers, even 2 women my age who had always wanted to learn. But there was one in particular who touched my heart. Her name was Caroline. She was 14 years old. She lived with her grandmother because her parents had abandoned her when she was little. She was shy, she bit her nails. She had that look of someone who had seen too much, too soon. But when she played the piano, something in her was transformed. "How did you learn to play like that?" I asked her after her third class. "Watching videos on YouTube, but I never had a real piano. Just an old keyboard my grandmother bought at a garage sale." "And why do you want to learn?" She was quiet for a moment. "Because when I play, I don't think about anything else. I don't think about my parents not wanting me. I don't think about us being poor. I'm just, I'm just me and the music." I took her hands. "Caroline, music is not an escape. It's a return to who you really are." She smiled, and in that smile I saw something of Sophia, that same strength hidden behind vulnerability. While my life was unexpectedly flourishing, Ryan and Chloe's was slowly crumbling, not catastrophically, but in that gradual way the natural consequences of bad decisions take their toll. Ryan sold his car, liquidated his investments, negotiated with his creditors, and managed to pay off the principal debt. But the cost was high. They lost their house, not through foreclosure, but because they couldn't continue to pay the mortgage after using all their resources on the company's debts. They had to move to a smaller apartment in a more distant neighborhood. Sophia had to change schools. Ryan called me the day of the move. "Mum, can I ask you for something?" "What?" "Can you come? Just for a little while. Sophia misses you. And I do too." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say no, to maintain the distance I had put between us. But another part, the part that was still a mother, needed to see how they were. "All right, but just for a little while." I arrived at the new apartment at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was small, 2 bedrooms, a living room that connected to a tiny kitchen. But it was clean, and there were boxes everywhere with the belongings of a life that no longer fit in that space. Sophia ran to hug me as soon as she saw me. "Grandma, I didn't know you were coming." "Your dad invited me. Do you like our new home?" The way she said it, with that mixture of courage and sadness, broke my heart. "It's cozy," I said, "and the important thing is not the size of the house, but the size of the love inside." Ryan came out of one of the rooms. He looked different, thinner, with grey hair he hadn't had before, but also with something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years: humility. "Hi, Mum." "Hi, son." We hugged. Brief, still awkward, but genuine. Chloe was in the kitchen, organising dishes. "Victoria, thank you for coming." "You're welcome. Do you want coffee?" "Please." We sat in the small living room on improvised box seats because they didn't have all their furniture installed yet. "How are things going?" I asked. Ryan and Chloe exchanged a look. "Honestly, Mum, it's been very difficult." "I imagine." "But it's also been good, in a strange way." "Good?" "Yes, because we lost everything superficial. The big house, the luxury car, the appearances. And what was left was us, the family, and we had to ask ourselves if that was enough. And is it enough?" He looked at Chloe. She nodded. "Yes, it is being enough. We are still in therapy. We still have arguments, but now they are honest. We no longer hide things. We no longer pretend." Chloe added, "And I started working." "Really?" "Yes, at a boutique. It's not much, but it's mine. My money, my effort. And it makes me feel useful, independent." "I'm happy for you." Sophia, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "Grandma, at first I hated this place. I missed my room, my school, my friends. And now I like that we are closer. That Mum isn't on the phone all day worrying about appearances. That Dad doesn't come home so late because his new office is closer. It's weird, but I feel like I have more of them, even though we have less stuff. Those words filled me with a deep peace. Sophia, you have just described what true wealth is. Before I left, Ryan stopped me at the door. Mum, there's something I need to tell you. What? When I was at my lowest, when I had lost everything and didn't know how to go on, there was a moment when I considered asking you for money again, inventing some emergency, manipulating you again. His voice cracked. But I remembered what you told me, that real forgiveness takes time, that it requires change, and I understood that if I did the same thing again, I would never change. I would never grow, so I didn't do it. And it was the most difficult decision I have ever made in my life. And how do you feel now? Proud. For the first time in years, I am proud of myself, not for what I have, but for who I am trying to be. I hugged him, this time stronger, longer. I'm proud of you too, son. Very proud. When I left, I drove slowly back home, thinking about everything that had happened, everything we had lost, everything we had gained. But not everything was healing and learning. Chloe was right when she said that life always collects its debts, and life was collecting hers in ways none of us anticipated. One afternoon, 2 weeks after that visit, I received a call from Ryan. His voice sounded strange, tense. Mum, are you home? Yes. Why? I'm coming over. I need to tell you something. Did something happen with Sophia? No. It's about Chloe. He arrived half an hour later. He sat in the living room and was quiet for a long time before speaking. Chloe is sick. I felt a chill run down my spine. What does she have? Cancer. In her breast. She was diagnosed a week ago. It's at stage 2. She has to start chemotherapy next month. The world stopped. She's known for a week and didn't tell me anything. She didn't want to worry you. She said we had already caused you enough pain. Ryan, that's nonsense. She is your daughter's mother. She is part of this family. I know. That's why I'm telling you now. How is she? Scared, but trying to be strong. For Sophia. For me. And the treatment. Do you have insurance? We have basic insurance. It covers part, but not everything. The most effective medications are not included, and we need about $150,000 extra for the complete treatment. There it was, life-testing everything I had learned. Was I going to help? After everything that had happened? Would helping him mean becoming the victim again? Or would it mean being the person I wanted to be? Generous, but not naive. Compassionate, but not foolish. The next morning, I called Mitchell Anderson. Mr. Anderson, I need your advice. I told him everything. Chloe's illness, the financial situation, my dilemma. Mrs. Miller, legally you have no obligation to help. Morally so, well, only you can decide that. But what would you do? I would do whatever allows you to sleep peacefully. If you help and then regret it, you will live with resentment. If you don't help and something bad happens, you will live with guilt. Neither is a good life companion. He was right. That afternoon I called Ryan. Son, tell Chloe I'm going to help her. I heard his breathing catch. Mum, you don't have to. I don't have to. I want to, but with conditions. Whatever they are. I'm not going to give cash. I'm going to pay the hospital directly. And I want all the receipts, all the medical documentation. I want total transparency. Of course. And this doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't put things back the way they were. Do you understand? Yes, Mum, I understand. And thank you. Thank you for being a better person than we were to you. I hung up, and I felt something unexpected. Peace. Not the peace of someone who resigns herself, but the peace of someone who chooses consciously, who has power and decides to use it wisely. As I prepared dinner that night, I thought about how life has mysterious ways of teaching us, sometimes through pain, sometimes through loss. Has life ever put you in a situation where you had to choose between helping someone who hurt you or protecting your own heart? What did you choose? Leave me your story in the comments. The following months were difficult for everyone. Chloe began chemotherapy. She lost her hair, she lost weight, she lost that sparkle in her eyes that always characterized her. But she gained something more important. She gained perspective. One afternoon, I went to visit her. She was on the sofa in the apartment, covered with a blanket, watching a movie with Sophia. "Victoria," she said when she saw me, "thank you for coming. How do you feel?" "Terrible physically, but good emotionally." It's weird, right? Why good emotionally? Because this taught me something I never learned before. What? That life is fragile, that control is an illusion, and that the only real thing is love. And I wasted so much time trying to control, to pretend, to manipulate, when the only thing that mattered was here all the time. She pointed to Sophia, who was nestled next to her. It took me a long time to understand it. I had to face my own mortality, to realize that all that big house, that luxury car, that status meant nothing, absolutely nothing. Chloe, we don't all learn lessons when we need them. Sometimes it takes us years, sometimes decades. The important thing is that you finally learned. She took my hand. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did to you was unforgivable, but I want you to know something. What? If I survive this, and the doctors say I have good odds, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to being the person I should have been from the beginning. Not perfect, but honest. Not manipulative, but genuine. That's all anyone can ask. 6 months after the diagnosis, Chloe finished chemotherapy. The results were good. The tumor had shrunk. The doctors were optimistic. Life was giving her a second chance. And she was taking it. Meanwhile, something interesting was happening in my own life. My piano classes had become more than a job. They had become a community. I organized a small recital in my living room. I invited the families of my students. I prepared coffee and cookies. Caroline played Claire de Lune, the same piece I had played months ago in my reunion with the piano. When she finished, everyone applauded. But the most beautiful thing wasn't the applause. It was seeing her grandmother cry with pride. It was seeing Caroline see herself, perhaps for the first time, as someone valuable. After the recital, her grandmother approached me. "Mrs. Miller, I don't know how to thank you. Caroline has changed so much since she started coming to you. She already had the talent. I just gave her a space to shine." "No, you gave her something more important. You gave her the confidence to believe in herself." Those words resonated with me for days. One night, sitting in my garden, looking at the azaleas that were now in their maximum splendor, I understood something profound. Life always collects its debts, but not in the cruel way we expect. It collects them by teaching us. Ryan and Chloe lost their house, but they gained honesty. Chloe got sick, but she found purpose. I lost the illusion of a perfect family, but I gained my dignity. And in that exchange, painful but necessary, we all became more human, more real, more true. That night, Sophia called me. Grandma, can I ask you something? Of course, my love. Do you think everything that happened was for the best? I don't know if it was for the best, but I do know that it made us better. There's a difference. What? Things that happen for the best are easy. The ones that make us better are difficult, but they are the only ones that truly transform us. You are very wise, Grandma. No, my angel. I'm just old, and when you live long enough, you either learn or you become bitter. I chose to learn. I want to choose that too. You already are, Sophia. You already are. We hung up, and I stayed there, under the stars, in the garden Frank built, in the house I almost lost, surrounded by the life that almost fell apart. But here I was, still standing, still strong, still me. And that, in the end, was all that mattered. 1 year after that afternoon, when Sophia handed me the crumpled note that changed everything, we were gathered in my garden. Everyone. Ryan, Chloe, Sophia, and I. It was my 61st birthday. I hadn't wanted to celebrate. It seemed unnecessary to me, but Sophia had insisted. Grandma, you have to celebrate. You have survived so much. You deserve a special day. And here they were, with a cake, with flowers, with that mixture of gratitude and shame that still floated between us when we were together. Things hadn't gone back to how they were, and they never would, but they had found a new balance, one that was more honest, more fragile, but more real. Chloe had finished her treatment. Her hair was growing back, short and curly, different from how she had always worn it. She said she liked it that way, that it was a reminder of her rebirth. Ryan was now working at a smaller company. He earned less, but he got home in time for dinner with his family. And Sophia had become one of my most dedicated piano students. She came twice a week, and in those afternoons, she didn't just learn music. We learned from each other. Grandma, Sophia said as they cut the cake, I have to tell you something. What is it, my love? My English teacher asked us to write about a person we admire, someone who taught us something important. And who did you write about? About you. I felt my eyes fill with tears. Can I read it? Of course. She took out her phone, and with that clear voice she had now, without the tremor of fear, she began to read. My grandmother, Victoria, taught me that true love is not compliant. It is brave. She taught me that sometimes the closest family can hurt us deeply, but that we can heal without stopping loving them. She taught me that saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you strong. And she taught me that it is never too late to defend yourself, to demand respect, to choose your own dignity. My grandmother is 61 years old. She lost the love of her life, almost lost her house, almost lost her family, but she never lost herself, and that is what I admire most about her. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye at that table. Ryan wiped his tears with the back of his hand. Chloe looked at me with a mixture of admiration and regret. Sophia, I said when I could speak, that is the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given me. It's the truth, Grandma. I just wrote the truth. Later, when Sophia was inside looking for something in her backpack, Ryan approached me. Mum, there's something I never told you. What? When I was at my worst, when I had lost everything and didn't know how to go on, there was a night when I thought about giving up, about ending it all. My heart stopped. What stopped you? You, the memory of how you stood up after Dad died, how you rebuilt your life, how you didn't give up even though you were alone. And I thought, if my mum could do it after losing the love of her life, I can do it after losing a house. I hugged him. And in that hug, there was forgiveness. Not the quick, superficial forgiveness that erases everything, but the slow, deep forgiveness that recognizes the damage but chooses to move forward. Ryan, we all fall. The important thing is to get up. And you got up. With your help. No, I just set boundaries for you. You did the hard work of changing. Chloe also approached before leaving. Victoria, I want you to know something. What? When I was diagnosed with cancer, my first thought was, this is my punishment for what I did to Victoria. And for weeks I lived with that guilt. But my therapist told me something that changed my perspective. What did she tell you? She said, your illness is not a punishment. It's an opportunity to live differently, to love differently, to be different. And she was right. This disease gave me something I never had. What? Humility and gratitude and the ability to see what really matters. I took her hands. Chloe, suffering doesn't automatically make us better people. Many people suffer and become bitter. You chose to grow, and that's what makes the difference. Will you ever be able to completely forgive me? I looked her in the eyes. I saw the woman who had entered my house without permission, who had planned to take my home. But I also saw the woman who was now in front of me, vulnerable, repentant, transformed. I already forgave you, Chloe. Maybe not in the way you expected, not with dramatic words or grand gestures, but I forgave you when I decided to remain part of this family, when I decided to help you with your illness, when I decided that resentment was not going to poison what I had left of my life. She cried, and I did too. And in that shared weeping there was something sacred, something that only those who have walked through fire and come out on the other side can understand. When everyone left and the house fell silent again, I went up to my bedroom. I opened the drawer where I kept Frank's notebook, the same one where he had written those words about dignity. I took a pen, and on the next page I wrote, Frank, my love, a year has passed since our family almost destroyed itself. A year since I discovered how fragile trust is and how strong self-love can be. I miss you every day, but no longer with that desperate pain of the first years. Now I miss you with a sweet nostalgia, like you miss a beautiful song that can no longer be heard but left its melody engraved in your heart. I learned something you may have already known, that loving someone doesn't mean disappearing for them, that being a good mother doesn't mean being a martyr, that true family is built with respect, not just with blood. Our son fell, but he got up. His wife almost destroyed me, but she transformed. And our granddaughter is wiser than all of us put together. As for me, I finally found myself again. With the piano, with my purpose, with you in a way. Because I understood that I never lost you completely. You continue to live in every brave decision I make, in every boundary I set, in every time I choose my dignity. Thank you for loving me the way you did, for teaching me that true love doesn't diminish anyone, for leaving me that final note about dignity. It was your way of taking care of me even after you left. I hope you are proud of the woman I became after you. Always yours. Victoria. I closed the notebook. I put it back in the drawer, and I felt something close. A cycle. A chapter. A wound. I went down to the garden. It was night. The azaleas were asleep. The stars shone with an intensity that is only seen on clear nights. I sat in the wicker chair, the same one where Frank proposed to me, the same one where I almost gave up when he died, the same one where I decided to take back my life. And I thought about everything, The crumpled note Sophia gave me, the betrayal I discovered, the painful confrontations, the difficult decisions, the forgiveness I didn't know if I could give, the life I almost lost, and the life I finally recovered. Thank you for listening to the end. If this story touched your heart in any way, if it made you think about your own silent battles, if it gave you the courage to set boundaries, or to forgive, or simply to keep going, then it was worth sharing. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, one woman, one life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change an entire day. It can be the push someone needs to defend their dignity, to set boundaries, to choose themselves. God bless you, and until next time. If someone were to ask me what I learned from all this, I would say the following. I learned that family is not who uses you, but who values you. That you can love someone and still set boundaries. That forgiveness does not mean forgetting, but freeing. That the solitude you choose is freedom, not abandonment. That it is never too late to defend yourself. That crises reveal who we truly are. That true love does not need to sacrifice anyone to exist. And that dignity, that intangible thing I almost lost, is the only thing no one can take from you, unless you allow it. The next day, Caroline arrived for her piano lesson. Teacher Victoria, can I ask you something? Of course, my dear. How did you learn to be so strong? I was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to answer that question without lying, but also without scaring her. I wasn't born strong, Caroline. I became strong when I realized that no one was going to save me, that I had to save myself. And weren't you afraid? I was terrified, but I did things with fear and all, because courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing even though you're trembling. She nodded, as if those words resonated deeply with her. Can I tell you something, teacher? Of course. My grandmother is sick, and we have to move to a cheaper place, and maybe I have to quit my lessons. My heart squeezed. Caroline, as long as I am alive and have a piano, you will continue to have lessons, free if necessary. Understood? Her eyes filled with tears. Why would you do that for me? Because someone did it for me once, and because music is not a luxury. It is medicine, and we all deserve to heal. She hugged me hard, as only children who have known pain know how to hug, and in that embrace I understood my final purpose. It wasn't just to survive. It wasn't just to protect my house. It wasn't just to set boundaries. It was this, to use what I had learned. The pain, the healing, the wisdom, to help others who were where I was, lost, scared, not knowing if they had the right to defend themselves. Yes, they did. We all do. That night, before sleeping, I opened my phone and read the comments on the video where I had shared my story. Hundreds of women writing, "Thank you for giving me the courage to say no. My son was pressuring me to sell my house." After hearing your story, I realized that I'm not alone. I am 72 years old, and I thought it was too late to defend myself. Your story showed me that it is never too late. Thank you for reminding us that loving does not mean disappearing. I read every one and cried, but this time with gratitude, because my pain had not been in vain. My story had not only been mine, my voice had reached someone who needed it, and that in the end was all that mattered. I closed my eyes. In the darkness of my room, I could hear the wind moving the azaleas in the garden. I could feel Frank's presence, not as a ghost, but as a living memory. I could feel the weight of my decisions, the good ones and the difficult ones, settling peacefully within me. And in that moment, In that stillness, I understood a final thing. Life had not broken me. It had polished me, as a stone is polished until it becomes a jewel. I had lost things, yes. I had suffered, absolutely. I had cried until I had no more tears, undoubtedly. But I had also gained something invaluable. I earned myself. I recovered my voice, I recovered my power, I recovered my right to exist without apology. And now, at my 61st year, with grey hairs I didn't hide, with wrinkles that told stories, with hands that built instead of begged, I could say with certainty, this life is mine, this house is mine, this dignity is mine, and no one, absolutely no one, is going to take it away from me again. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If my experience gives someone the courage to say no, when they have always said yes, then every tear will have made sense. If my words remind a person that it is never too late to choose herself, then my pain transforms into purpose. Because that is what life is about in the end, not avoiding suffering, but transforming it into wisdom. Not never falling, but getting up every time. Not being perfect, but being authentic. And I, Victoria Miller, 61 years old, widow, mother, grandmother, piano teacher, and survivor, can say with pride, I am authentic, I am imperfect, I am strong, and that is more than enough.